So hello everyone, welcome to another teaser video for the MEF Connects Rich Communications virtual event. To remind you, this event takes place over 3 days from September the 29th to October the 1st. And today I'm very pleased to be joined by Guillaume Le Mener, who's the SVP of Enterprise Solutions at Mavenir. So Guillaume, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tim.
So you're looking after the global rollout of Mavenir's RCS business and messaging strategy. So what is the rollout like so far? Is it going well? Are operators adopting this technology?
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well. For Mavenir and the operators in general. We've seen a lot of uptake in the North American market. We start to see also a lot of uptake in the European market with England, Germany, Spain, and Nordics country. We see also a lot of nice uptake in Australia, New Zealand, this area of the world. There is definitively a traction for RCS, and I think it's being accelerated, with the 5G, since RCS will be the default messaging for 5G.
Which markets have sort of universal operator coverage or near universal operator coverage?
Well, today the market, that we have a complete coverage in all operators will be Germany, Spain, UK, the US, Canada. These are the very large market. The reason behind that is there is a lot of already strong, spending in terms of what we call business messaging traffic. So it was very natural, especially the UK and Germany, to come first and monetize the new RCS channel.
What are the factors that persuade an operator to launch RCS, and what are the barriers to them launching it?
I think the motivation for an operator is to reinvent, the business messaging channel. If you think about it, it's been a pretty obsolete technology used for the last 20 years or even more than 20 years as SMS. Very effective, in terms of ubiquity. You can reach anybody on the planet, but it's limited, to 160 characters and text only. It's like having still today black and white TV when everybody is on HD, 8K or 4K TV. So the motivation for them is to re-engage with the brands, with the enterprise, bring additional services like, verified senders, continue to be a clean channel, which is really a value proposition that the operators are good at, to provide this cleanness and not leveraging the metadata of the conversation. And also offering any kind of multimedia capability like high definition video quality pictures, having a mechanism to really create a conversational engagement, like having a conversation on chat. That conversation has to be rich, you can't just do anything just by text. On the other side, what are the limitation or discouraging factor for some operators? I think it depends. It's like not having a strong business case internally, not really understanding the engagement with the brands and what the brands understand, because they are usually, for many years they've been in the commodity business, like just offering wholesale, SMS as a bulk of, million or billion of messages per year, but missing today what exactly the brands are. So the good news is we have our business messaging partners in the middle that can help us with that and help the operator with that. But when the business case is there, we see people, jumping. There may be some legal framework like lawful intercept, but this is something that they already do for VoLTE, for voice in general. I don't think that's a real barrier. But there may be also some ecosystem, challenges with the OEM vendors. So that could be another reason.
So speaking of OEM vendors, what sort of handset support are we seeing for RCS?
Well, all Android messages, are open to support RCS. Samsung support RCS natively for many, many years. All the OEM, Android OEM phones like LG and so on support and RCS. The biggest challenge in our industry is, the iOS and Apple are not yet there. The silver lining, if we want, is 5G has made a proposal, with a document from a product requirement from GSMA, which is called NG114. And that requirement is kind of a mandate, for the OEMs, including any OEM, but support 5G to also support RCS as a default um, standard. So hopefully, we will see maybe Apple one day soon with 5G coming up and their new 5G phone coming up to support RCS, but who knows? I think that's probably the biggest limitation. Having said that, every operator should have a multi-channel, strategy. So the equivalent of RCS business messaging in Apple world is called Apple Business Chat. And that's probably a way to circumvent, and enable that inventory. If you want, from a brand perspective, it will be referred as an inventory, and leverage, Apple in these conditions.
What about Google? Where does Google sit in the RCS ecosystem?
Well, I think the Google position is interesting. They've been one of the major driver force with the introduction of UP, Universal Profile. They made that proposal many years ago at the GSMA, like almost 4 years ago, if I remember correctly. And they've been pushing very, very hard the industry to adopt Universal Profile, which we do, both from a client device and what we call the backend, what runs into the network. So I think, the interesting thing is they have been a driving force, and now also are supporting Android, with Android messages supporting Universal Profile and RCS. The potential challenge, is for Android, to compete, with the like of Apple messages services. And so we may see, some decision in the future, that could, restrict or limit, capabilities in one hand. And there's a big question mark, on if there's an interest, to continue to support standard. It's a question I don't have an answer today. But I think it's important to make sure this RCS capability remain open from an open standard perspective, because this is what really telco or telecommunication operators are about, open standard. If we try to close, then we are not better than any social media application.
And what about the business model question around A2P messages on and conversations in RCS? Are we any closer to knowing what the best business models are for that?
Well, I think the best business model will evolve. I mean, what we've seen across the world is operator, trying to start with what they've been educating the brands with, so they've been always trying to work with A2P, SMS, price per message. That's a natural evolution for them to continue like that. After that, there will be potentially, the introduction of a conversational model where, based on the number of sessions you have during a day, you can be charged. I think the most important thing is to see the evolution of that business model towards performance-based pricing, like the traditional marketing metrics, cost per acquisition or cost per action, and making sure, you can actually price the channel in a way that makes sense to the marketing folks.
So finally, how do you feel about the optimistic idea that rich media channels will become the channels where brands and consumers talk to each other beyond the native app or the website and so on?
Well, I think, we've seen a number of surveys where, actually the consumer prefer to engage by messaging the brands. It's convenient because you don't have to be online and waiting, for a phone call to be taken like the traditional call center. Compared to a website or an application, there is an app fatigue. People are tired to have so many apps on their phone, or don't know or remember the user password. So I think messaging is more natural for a lot of the, some of the day-to-day tasks, like being able to reorder a pizza, for example. I mean, it should be as natural as going to a channel, like a messaging channel, and pick up the last order. Many things could be, improved in that sense. I think the beauty of RCS business messaging, especially RCS or any rich business messaging channel, is the P2A, the ability for a consumer to engage with the brands and to be directed to a care agent, if it's related to a support issue, or to be able to transact, with someone live, maybe in a store, and enable that channel, for very specific, kind of use case like this. Application, yes, it's very costly also for the brand to maintain application up to date and get everybody to download the latest. The beauty of a channel like messaging is you don't have really too much to do, just updating your chatbot or updating your interaction on the channel, much less heavy compared to an application maintenance. So there's a lot of potential there. We've seen with COVID-19, a big uptake for small local business to transition to channel, even like WhatsApp for business, because all of a sudden they need to be digitalized, if I can say. They need to exist as a digital marketplace when they used to have only people or visiting their store. And we saw the statistic on WhatsApp for business. It's phenomenal. All the announcement from Facebook on Facebook for business, Facebook shop. So it tells us, there is an appetite for small, medium, large enterprise brands to be visible on this channel.
Well, it's great that you mentioned extending this to small businesses, because obviously a lot of the case studies we read about are big brands. So Google has managed to succeed by bringing small businesses into its universe. So if the next channel is going to succeed, it's going to be one that brings everybody in. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that kind of thing at the event in a few days' time. And Guillaume, thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights. And we'll see you all at the event. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, team. Goodbye.